Well, that is better. And starting to see something here. So this is the first time I've used StreamYard to stream on multiple platforms. So this is going to get interesting. At any rate, we are going to get into some questions and answers on some pretty important topics when it comes to health. And these are questions that I get often. And it's, they're simple questions, but not such simple answers. And one of the main questions that I get is, how do I get rid of chronic pain naturally? Things like back, neck, headaches, generalized pain. Now, if you have any questions at all and you want to post some questions, the best way to do it is you can DM me on Instagram, which is Ian Clark Activated on Instagram. And you can post whatever you want in there. And I'll do my very best to answer the questions the most efficient way. So you can deal with these things that you're looking to solve in your health situation. Now, everyone has health situations because we're in bodies that are compromised from the time we're born. And we have to accommodate that and overcome all the genetic, hand of cards we were dealt, and optimize to make sure that we don't have situations happening where we are overcome with our genetic situation or with our historic problems or things that we lived in life where we just simply didn't know that we were damaging ourselves in a polluted environment, in a toxic world that we were dumped into, in a world that is dangerous in some ways for injury or damage to our body that happens that can show up later in our life when we get older. So it's very important that we have an equilibrium going on. And I had to learn a whole lot of stuff the hard way because I was damaged significantly from the time I was a little kid all the way through, because I was born in the 50s and raised in the 60s and 70s. So the amount of intel around natural health during those times was basically nil. And everything was dental, medical, do what the doctor says, do what the dentist says. And the whole idea is to damage the body as much as possible to create a business where people will have to spend a lot of money and time and effort as they get older to try to maintain any kind of, decent health. And that means no pain, no congestion, no disease, no injury, no, disability, nothing compromising the person as you get older. So it's kind of almost like a game in a way. I've learned is that you have to gamify it, create challenges for yourself, and test whether you're willing to love your body completely, or if you love pleasures that have taxes attached to them more than you love your body. Now, I had to come to the terms on that and say, well, okay, I love my body more than I love, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. And am I willing to do the things it takes, even if it involves having a whole bunch of fun, spending a whole bunch of money, or doing a whole bunch of free stuff, or maybe suffering through certain things? How willing am I to do whatever it takes to get a healthy body, to have a body that I have today at 68 years old, that is like a luxury sports car, and it's super comfortable, very dynamic, high performance, where I don't have any pain and I'm able to get around mobility-wise. All my organs work great. Everything's at a high functioning level. And that didn't start that way. Just 22 years ago, that was exactly the opposite of where I was. It was ridiculous. And it was all based on ignorance, not knowing things, thinking I knew something that I didn't know, which I would call being a know-it-all when I knew nothing, which is the worst possible type of, perspective to have. And simply being humbled and finding out that I was going to lose my body, that my body would die. I wouldn't die, but my body would die. And then I would be moving on out of this dimension a lot sooner than I'd had any plan to do so. And I really had no plans of moving out at all. And my plans were to be here for a very long time. But you can't be if your body breaks down. And my body was broken down, not only organ function wise, but also structurally, significantly damaged. So during the last 22 years, thankfully, I was led to people who had deep information on how to fix problems by getting rid of problems. So it's all about getting rid of problems. You know, we could have a million remedies for a million problems. That doesn't solve anything because that's just remedying a symptom. So the whole thing is to get rid of the problem itself. So therefore symptoms don't exist. So in the first question, how do I get rid of chronic pain naturally? Back, neck, headaches, generalized pain. Well, I guess you got to find out what's causing it. And there are many things you can do to remove problems completely. And they're mostly free. Some things you're going to do are going to have an investment of money, time, energy, effort. Some are just time, energy, and effort. But thankfully, there are things that we can all do that create solutions to the problems by getting rid of the problems. So, you know, people have pain in their back and their neck. That's often a biomechanical problem. And it also could be a toxic buildup. And there are simple ways of getting rid of it using percussion, frequency, vibration, because your body, a living body, has everything moving all the time. So the biggest movement in your physical being is airflow. You're breathing 11,000 liters of air a day. That provides a lot of fuel, oxygen, nitrogen, and all the energy that's in the air, because we don't really quite understand what air is. Air is a pretty fascinating fuel. We're able to transmit all kinds of signals and energy through the air, images and Wi-Fi and cell towers and TV broadcasts and whatever. And then the air we breathe, we have to stay alive. And that delivers oxygen, nitrogen through our lungs to our bloodstream instantly. And then our body pumps 7,200 liters of blood per day. So you breathe 11,000 liters of air a day, pump 7,200 liters of blood per day. And that supplies the fuel to the brain, first of all, and to every other cell in your body every 60 seconds, because every speck of blood touches every cell every 60 seconds. And that is required for your body to stay alive. So that is a system that is extremely important to have working at the highest efficiency level. Well, when you're breathing in all the pollution. Most pollution you can't smell or sense or see or taste. It's all nanoparticles, and a nanoparticle is 1,000 times smaller than a micron. A micron requires a microscope to see. A nanoparticle requires an electron microscope to see. And these nanoparticles are real hard material. They come from tire dust, brake dust, asphalt wearing out from all the vehicles running around, all the planes flying overhead with the fuel, all the burnt fuel, all the carbon release, whatever, all the dust that's just blowing around in general, and construction pollutions and industrial pollutants, whatever. There's thousands of different pollutants. So we're aware that we do breathe in and we start to accumulate these toxins. And if you're not paying attention to this, like I wasn't, because I never thought about it and nobody told me, then you have an accumulation of this garbage and you have to clear it. Now, if you knew from the beginning that every day you have to detox whatever you're breathing in, and your body does detox naturally, it'll go out through the waste pathways, but there are other areas where it doesn't go out and starts to embed, and it embeds throughout your whole system. That's what clogs everybody up, causes blockages, congestion, disease, and death. And it's a matter of you clearing what's accumulated, built up, and then daily clearing what's accumulating so it doesn't actually accumulate. If what comes in leaves the same day. So having everything clear. Now that is going to be the first step in reducing chronic pain, because pain has a title called inflammation, but a better title than that is congestion. And the congestion is blockage. If you go into Eastern medicine, classical Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, they'll often say that you're blocked up, you have congestion. You've got something jamming your system that doesn't allow the energy to flow properly, and your blood doesn't flow correctly, the oxygen doesn't get to the cells right, the cell walls, the membranes get plugged up, you don't get proper osmotic transfers, and it just gets worse and worse as you get older. And you'll see everybody as they get older, when they don't get rid of the accumulation, they start to slow down. An athlete will, have a career that will end around 40. And sometimes they can go longer, but they can't perform like they did in their 20s and 30s because of this accumulation effect. And everybody thinks this is normal, and there's actually nothing normal about it. It's just, we think that's the way it's supposed to be because that's the way it is with everyone around us. And some people die in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Some people live till their 90s and beyond 100. But the older a person gets, the lower percentage of people get there. And they might have very powerful genetics that allows them to just naturally go to that age, whereas other people die a lot younger. So it's not like Russian roulette. You're not playing games here in the sense that you don't care, oh, well, whatever cards I was dealt. Because the cards that I was dealt apparently was going to have me exited before I was 49. And I didn't like that too much. I was like, okay, that's messed up. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing, and the medical system doesn't know how to deal with that, because the things they were offering me at that time was the same things they offered my uncles when I was 20 years old in 1978. And they were both diagnosed with terminal cancer in 1977, and they both died within 12 months of diagnosis. They did everything they were told by the doctors, and they died right on time. So I thought, well, that's interesting. You've got a situation where you're being told, by the way, you're going to do this, this, and this, and you're going to die. And if you don't do it, we say you're going to die a lot sooner. But at least they got a year. Wow, that's pretty awesome, right? They died at 51 and 54 years old. They suffered like mad before they died for that last year of their life. And it was the grossest, ugliest thing ever. And it sent a shockwave through our family, and particularly was very hard on me psychologically to see that happen. I don't know the rest of the family, but I remember reflecting on that for a long time. And they happened to die 2 days apart, which is really high impact when they died that close together at 51 and 54. So all it does is just wakes us up and says, hey, something is dynamically wrong with the system and with the social conditioning that we're all in. We're obviously not thinking correctly. We're obviously accepting things that we should not be accepting as normal. And we shouldn't be taking anything for granted, or that somehow we're just going to, hope that we get to live a long time, and we hope that we don't get disease, and we hope that we don't, fall apart. There's no hoping when it comes to that stuff. You have to know that you know that you know, and you have to take responsibility for your own body. It's your body. Nobody can take responsibility for your body for you. They might be there being able to support you if you're debilitated and help you get back on your feet if you're off, but they can't do for you what you must do for your own body when you're down, or if you're heading down. So the analogy that I was shown is that your body has multiple operating systems working together in one overall central operating system. And the central operating system is relying on about 15 different categories. I could name them off, and I could name you probably 50 systems, but that's not what is important. The important thing is that the main systems that are in your system that are working with each other and all synchronized are all relying on each other. And so it's like a chain with links. And each link in the chain has to be strong. If you get a weak link, you'll start to get symptoms of a problem: weakness, pain, debilitation, disease, whatever you want to call it. And you're getting a weakness. And if the link gets weak enough and it breaks, your body dies. Then it's over. Well, at that point, you don't have to worry about too much in this realm. But I don't think that's what any of us want, especially if it's early on in our life and things are a surprise, disease, diagnosis, whatever. None of us want surprises. All of us want to know that we're in a good condition overall. Just like if you're going to go on a long trip with your car, you want to know that all the systems in your car are good. You got good tires, good brakes, the oil's changed, you got good fuel system, all the filters are working properly, and you have a good, healthy situation. And that is essential, or you might break down halfway through the trip and then you got a problem. So it's like your life, you got to make sure that every 10 years, you are prepared for the 10 years after this next 10 years. So the 10 years of your life right now, you're making sure that you're getting a little bit healthier in each category of your life, a little bit every single day for this 10-year period. And that allows the 10-year period after that to be even better than this one. And if you think about your life in chunks, well, you can make it a year or 7 years, 10 years, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just using 10 years because it's easy to relate to. It's like your birthdays, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. These are milestones. And everybody always kind of takes that decade number and celebrates it a little more than the other birthdays. You turn 60, that's a big deal. And then the years between that, and then 70, that's a bigger deal. And then 80 is a bigger deal, and so on, right? So every 10 years you're alive, you're more valuable on the earth because you've got more experience, more wisdom, more know-how, you've got better connections, you've simplified and learned the most important things to share with others. You're able to serve others and be of value to them more than ever. So every 10 years of your life, it just gets better and better and better. So you want to keep living another 10 years at the 10-year point. And that takes preparation, it takes thought, it takes learning. And the more you learn, the more you realize how simple it is. The more you learn, the less you have to do. Because when you don't know, then you can be exploited. You could have someone come along and offer you 100 different things to do when you only have to do 10. But because you don't know what the simple truths are, you'll do the 100 things, or you'll try to do as many of the 100 things as possible. That costs the maximum amount of time, energy, effort, and money that you're investing in yourself. And then you could even become a complete health radical nut where you're just chasing your tail all day long just to be healthy. And that is certainly not the answer, because that means that you don't know the very core, deepest foundational things. So over the last 22 years, I asked many times to be led to deeper levels of understanding, because I knew that I couldn't come up with it myself, and that everything that we learn is from outside of us, where we are inspired by others who have done lifetimes of research in single categories. And at 46 years old, with a body that was going to die in 3 years, I didn't have time to go and research anything other than research researchers who had already done the research, and be open to listening and to, subject myself to information as it was being given to me, rather than trying to second guess or, think I knew something. I realized that everything I knew was killing me. So this is where you come down to the foundational things of how do we approach our body's health, our spiritual health, our mental health, our emotional health, our environmental health, internally and externally, our domestic health, our financial health, and our physical health, because they're all tied together. They're all synergistic. And if we have ill health in any of those areas, each one of those areas affects each other area. And then internally in our body with all the operating systems, each system is dynamically affecting each other's system. And the thing that shocked me a lot on this journey was that I met people who were, in their 70s and 80s who had done lifetimes of research, and they were giving me incredibly powerful information about that particular category of health. Maybe it was digestive or respiratory or circulatory or endocrine or whatever system. And they were pretty healthy people, I thought. I mean, they had great knowledge. They didn't appear to be ill. And then a few years later, I'd hear that they passed away. And I was confused because I thought, well, how could they be studying natural health at those deep levels and then they died? And that was weird. And then I started to just do some math. I go, well, there's obviously a reason they died. They didn't just die by random. Nobody killed them. And they didn't have an accident. They just had something come up with their health that suddenly took them out. Some of them were down in 4 months. Some of them took a year. It was just, I noticed this stuff. And so I realized that all that meant is that they might have been healthy in 12 of the 15 categories. They looked good. They felt good. They sounded good. But there were 2 or 3 categories that they were weak in that they weren't paying attention to. And then a link in the chain broke and they died. So I started sharing information, very critical information that I was learning from each of these high-level people that I was receiving, because I didn't come up with anything. I wasn't attached to anything. But I noticed that these researchers were deeply attached to their discoveries and that they were not so open to other people's discoveries. In other words, they thought, well, this kind of covers all the bases. These things that I know are more or less the overall panacea that covers everything. And when I started sharing, when I saw people dying, that was upsetting. So I started sharing all the things that I learned. Not that I was trying to teach them anything. I was just saying, hey, well, I was shown this by this individual over here. And I noticed that there was quite a blockage. Some of them were open to listening to some of it, but who is Ian Clark to tell them anything? They're the ones who told me all these wonderful things. And now I'm coming to them and saying, it was a little bit of an ego thing. And I don't think it was intentionally an ego thing. It's just that we're human beings and we have certain things about us. Maybe I wasn't approaching them right, or I didn't have the right attitude. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, it wasn't received very well. But I really wanted to just curate all of the combination of everything I was being shown, to put it together and then just share it with everybody, and you and anybody who's listening or willing and is seeking the truth about health. And what can you do to keep it as simple as possible, as effective as possible, and that each category is being dealt with, and it becomes simpler and simpler and less costly as time goes on. And then I found out that that's not that popular. It's not popular in the medical or the naturopath or the so-called natural health product realm, because the whole realm is based upon people having problems that need to be remedied. And when you have a problem that is sitting there that maybe, like, you genetically are unique to anybody else on the earth, there's no one like you. You are absolutely as unique as you are, and you'll never find anybody who has the same history, the same DNA connections that your 2 parents got together and you were produced from, and all these different factors about you that make you super unique. So you're going to express genetically different than anybody else. You might have the same problem as someone else, but you'll express it differently. And if you don't get rid of that problem, you're going to keep expressing different symptoms that people can sell you stuff to remedy, but you're only suppressing the symptoms rather than getting rid of the problem, so you don't have to have any more symptoms to deal with. And that's the master key for you in each category, is you knowing how to remove the problem. And so I realized that I was being sent out to curate and accumulate and assemble all the pieces of the puzzle that were going to allow us all to remove the problems entirely. And some of the ways that you got to, some of the ways that you are personally going to remove these problems are not a lot of fun when you're doing them. Now, they are a huge amount of fun once you have the problem removed. Facing the problem and facing how you have to deal with the problem, I don't say that's a lot of fun sometimes. It requires work. It requires effort. It requires diligence, discipline, willingness, and it'll often require some suffering. Now, the suffering is nothing to be compared with the joy that follows once you do it. And I was shown, and I was asking to be shown. And so I was like the early adopter. I had to be the person who was first of all shown what to do. And some of my reactions were like, "You have got to be kidding. Seriously, I'm going to have to do what?" And I knew in my gut that what I was being shown was true, but mentally, I didn't want to believe it was true. But my gut intuition overrode my mental desire to say this can't be possibly true because I don't want to do this. And then because my intuition was telling me it was true and I actually did it, and as much as I didn't want to do it and I didn't like doing it and I didn't enjoy it at all, I got the results that I absolutely thoroughly appreciated because it actually worked. And I went through what I would call various firewalls. Firewalls meaning you're going to suffer because you've got this accumulation of pain inside your body, this accumulation of potential disease, accumulation of injury, accumulation of whatever, and it kind of hurts to get it out. But it only hurts at the level that it's accumulated. And so the treatments, I first of all optically thought, well, the treatment is painful and suffering. Then I found out that's not true, because when you do the treatment, and you might suffer under the treatment to start with, you do the treatment after you're removing the problem, and then there's no suffering at all. So actually the treatment doesn't cause suffering. The suffering is caused because of you having accumulated this issue, and you got to get rid of it. So it's this psychological battle. It's this paradox of the optics telling you this is something that it's not. It's actually the opposite of what you think it is, but you can't know that unless you're put in a position where you're willing to do whatever it takes. And then you go through the firewall to find out, oh, okay, it actually worked. That's bizarre, but it's real. And thankfully, I was given the grace to go through these firewalls and willing to suffer at whatever level it took, or willing to have as much fun as it took. I mean, sometimes things are very enjoyable. It's not always involving suffering. But if you do have an accumulation of toxins and congestion and injury, there is going to be pain involved in getting it out of your body. And it just has to leave. Otherwise, it's okay if you want to keep the pain. I mean, it's up to you. It's your body. You can avoid the painful treatments, definitely. The pain will continue to increase. And the tricky thing about pain is that there are different stages of pain, just like there's different stages of cancer, right? Or different stages of heart disease, or different stages of Alzheimer's, or whatever. And there's different stages of health, right? So you've got from low end to high end. And so, like, just take cancer, for example. You have stage 0 cancer, you have no issue. Stage 1 and stage 2 cancer, you're not going to notice it. Stage 3, you might notice it. Most people don't find out they have cancer till they get a stage 4 diagnosis because they just weren't knowing what to look for. They had little pain, constrictions, things, maybe it was in their back, it was a little boil or a cyst or something, and they didn't know. And then it turns into stage 4 cancer when they get the diagnosis and they're in a dilemma. Well, pain is similar. Stage 0, stage 1, and stage 2, you don't feel. You just don't feel it, but it's there. And then it increases to stage 3, you're definitely going to feel stage 3 pain, for sure. And then you're going to address it because it's very uncomfortable. And stage 4 pain, forget it. Nobody can stay alive with stage 4 pain. It's just not possible. They'll either have to be on fentanyl or some kind of drug to kill that pain because they literally can't stay alive. And then they have to figure out how to get it down to stage 3, stage 2, stage 1, and stage 0. Problem is, people will go from stage 3 to stage 2 pain and think they dealt with it, but it's still sitting just under the surface. So the goal is to have stage 0 pain across the board throughout your entire body, which is what I learned how to do. And that means you continue to do the treatments beyond this sensible pain that you're feeling anymore being gone. Take it all the way. And there's ways of measuring that. There's ways of telling, are you down to stage 0 or not? It's pretty obvious. You can visibly see it. You can physically feel it. But you have to be willing to do certain treatments to yourself. And what I found was that these treatments are optically off. Therefore, they're going to be ridiculed and mocked out of the gate. That's the first stage. Then the treatments are going to be violently opposed as being very wrong. And then once they're revealed as true and the actual best treatment you could do, then they're adopted and accepted and go, oh, sorry about that. Sorry for mocking that. Sorry for violently opposing that. We get it. It's true. And these are the stages that we all have to go through. And if you're a trailblazer like I've been destined to do, and an early adopter, or whatever category you're in, depends on what category you want to place yourself in. I had to place myself as an early adopter because I was going to be dead if I didn't. So it's just a matter of you determining what level you're going to go to and how you're going to go about it, and just see what happens. But your responsibility, I can tell you right now, whether you know it or believe it or not, is to have stage 0 pain, stage 0 disease, stage 0 injury, stage 0 disability. And it takes time to get there. A lot of times it's based on deficiencies. Another prime example for deficiency: magnesium deficiency, iodine deficiency, selenium deficiency, L-carnosine deficiency, melatonin deficiency. Those are some pretty basic ones. And when you're deficient in elemental things, maybe you're deficient in electrolytes. Depending on how deficient you are, there's stage 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you go to stage 4 deficiency in certain elements, your body won't survive. And you might deal with stage 3 deficiency that's obvious, get it to stage 2, but you don't feel it anymore. And then you stop thinking you're there, but no, you got to carry it on. So it's not about intensity, it's about consistency. You being diligent and consistent on a daily basis to know that you have to start with more than normal and work your way down to a maintenance. Because if you're deficient, you got to build the sufficiency up, right? Repletion instead of depletion. And that takes time. It just takes a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of know-how. I had to learn those things, and I learned them thoroughly. And I consistently make sure that when I found out that I was very deficient in things, that I built that up. And then I made sure that I could find out what the equilibriums are. And then it just becomes easier and simpler every single day. And then your body just keeps lighting up more and more and more, and you get the youthful glow. And there's no fountain of youth. There's no magic pill. There's no magic potion. There's just consistent nutrients and elements that your body requires to be healthy, and you finding out what those things are and implementing them. And you are the executor of your body. You're the executive. An executive executes and implements and consistently applies known simple principles. And people think that being healthy is very complex. When you go into the biohacker world, it's probably the most complicated place you could ever go. There's a million things you can do and millions of dollars you can spend. It's fun. It's intriguing. It's kind of cool. It's trendy, right? And it's a little bit overwhelming. I found out that that's all fun and cool. For you and I, we simply have to go to the must-haves. Once you deal with the must-haves and deal with the core things that are the most important functionally, foundationally in your life, you're then able to not need all of those super amazing extra things that are very expensive. And all of the different things you can chase around doing, all the expensive IVs and injections and different things are, they're all fun and well if you have a lot of money. And you can explore and biohack. I prefer to do health stacking. Yeah. Foundational, functional, the core stacking of the must-haves. The simple, affordable things. The things that displace the need to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, millions, whatever. And that you get to have your time back. You spend the least, this is the whole goal. Activation is all about, and the reason I call it activation, because it activates people to take responsibility for themselves, for their own health. And that was an inspired name. I didn't actually come up with it. That was literally dropped into my mind. And I was like, okay, that's a good one. So activation is all about finding out how you can be perfectly healthy. And anything less than perfect health is partial health. So if you just want partial health, that's okay too. But perfect health is complete health, not partial. And that means you're covering all the bases. It's not like you're some perfectionist and, I'm perfectly healthy. No, you're on the road to perfect health once you're on that road. And if you're on the road to perfect health, you are perfectly healthy in that sense. And that means that you're getting rid of all the partial health that is compromising you right now. And the goal is, for me, for activation and for every client and every person who I interface with, is to spend the least amount of time, first of all, least amount of effort, least amount of energy, and the least amount of money to get the maximum return and have a healthy body. And to achieve perfect health, complete health, is really the proper term. And make sure you're covering all the areas where you're partially healthy. And do it affordably. And then you become an inspiration to everyone around you who sees you physically change, dynamically change, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, right? Domestically, environmentally, well, like again, financially, all the areas I mentioned. I repeat that often because all those areas are important because they're all tied together. And then you are able to function, and you might go through some dips. You might have, health challenges, financial challenges, environmental, domestic, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, whatever, it doesn't matter. Challenges will come to strengthen you. And you welcome the challenges, you embrace them, you consider them, it's a privilege to have a challenge come your way. It's not a oh bummer, right? No, it's going to strengthen you. It's going to improve you. You're going to learn tremendous amounts when you're having that challenge. It doesn't mean you're being a loser or you're failing. No, you're having a bit of a dip, and I've been through endless dips and valleys and mountaintops and dips and valleys and mountaintops as I've traveled on this journey, and it happens all the time. And when we are at the top of a mountain, we know the next thing is a valley. And we're like, okay, let's go through it and learn our next level. We're here to learn. We're here to experience the attributes that are being expressed to us, which is healing in the physical world. That's one of them, one of the many. And then we just come through it and become better. And not better so that we can be egotistic and all proud about ourselves. Better so that we can serve each other better. so we can be more valuable to each other, so we can know how to have each other's backs and actually really care about other people. And if we don't care about ourselves, how are we going to care about other people? Because I've caught myself, I don't know how many times in my life, where I found out that I didn't care even close enough about other people. You know, people had challenges. It was like, oh, well, I guess they screwed that up. They probably deserved it. Really? Says who? Says me? Based on what? Do I know what their situation was? Do I know what they've been through? No. How can I judge that situation so carelessly? You know, they're going through a big challenge. They might have had a failure of some kind, maybe an accident or something physically happened, or they had a business failure or whatever. I should sincerely care about that person's well-being and not throw them under the bus or disregard them or think, oh, well, because there's not an oh, well. And as I became healthier and healthier, I became more and more careful to care about people who I get connected with. How many people do you know in life? You know very few people in your life. You're exposed to a very tiny percentage of the world population. Just think about it. How many people can you write down right now on a blank piece of paper, their names of people you actually know very, very, very well? I mean, I'm talking off the top of your head, not going back through your contact list in your phone, okay? What you can remember. How many people do you spend every day with, day in and day out in your close circle? Not very many, is it? Therefore, anyone you are connected with, anyone I am connected with, who I know about, who I could support or be a benefit to, I should be caring as much as I should care about on their behalf, thinking about how would I feel if I were them and how much would I want to be cared for if I'm having a challenge? How can we support each other? It's all about building a community of support, having a network where you're supported. So right now we're building a system where you will be able to get access to a database where you can ask any health question. You can find out decades worth of information about what people on the ground, natural practitioners, doctors, naturopaths, whoever, chiropractors, nutritionists, medical doctors, regenerative medicine, functional, integrative, whatever, it doesn't matter. People who have been on the ground one-on-one helping people for real with challenges with their health. And in this day and age, all that information is becoming widely available. Now, most artificial intelligence systems are hallucinating and they're censored. We have been able to bypass the hallucinations and the censorship to dive deep into the actual truth of things that work and what we can share. And I'm not talking about suppressing symptoms. I'm talking about going deep into removing problems themselves so that you can enjoy a healthy body that's like a luxury sports car that's working very well, looking very well. And the older you get, the healthier you become, rather than the opposite in the standard world, which is the longer you're alive, the longer you are, the more you're losing your health. Like that's what we see around us all the time. That's because the system from alpha to omega is broken in that dumbed down realm. The other grid, which is the true grid, is a system that constantly improves you as you proceed. So it's like a car going down the road, goes 10 miles, say that's 10 years. You get a car on a flat road and just tip it 1 degree down, which is you can't even visibly see, or 1 degree up, which you cannot visibly see. You could put the car in neutral, it won't even roll 1 degree up or 1 degree down. It just sits there because of the friction. But you drive that car 10 miles and it's 875 feet between 1 degree up and 1 degree down. That's the height of a skyscraper. So 10 years in your life, just making the simple adjustments from 1 degree down, which is normal, to 1 degree up, which is, hey, what are you doing? You get a massive result. So I've been experiencing that now for over 2 decades. 22 years of research and implementation, started very slow and very gradual. So we're getting to the point where we're able to share the most important things And there's no shiny objects. There's no magic pills, no magic potions. There's just real math, real science, real physical attributes, and sharing the things that make the most difference. So you want to get rid of chronic pain naturally, you're going to follow certain protocols. And it involves percussion, frequency, vibration. It involves hydration. It involves gently detoxing your body on a daily basis so you don't have Herxheimer healing crisis. You don't have any downtime. You're making sure that the nutrients that are growing in your body are super clean. You are getting rid of the accumulation of the buildup of anything you're breathing in. And you're eliminating, and your waste systems are flowing correctly. All the doors and windows are open properly. You're unplugging all the channels that are building up around you to make sure you don't accumulate, and you're in that flow state of getting things out of your body that would otherwise build up and cause you harm. And if you've been injured, you can stimulate your own body to produce your own stem cells, your own peptides, your own hormones, right? Hormones. Hormone therapy is a remedy for a symptom. Getting your endocrine system tapped back in removes that problem so you don't need hormone replacement therapy. Sounds too good to be true? Nope. Certain things sound too good to be true, and sometimes you find out they are true. It's just that normal society says, no, too good to be true. But you can definitely get everything there, and making sure that your insulin system is healthy. It's not about a diet or you're restricted, you have to do this and have to do that. All you got to do is measure things. You know, one of the most important tests you can do, which costs like $25 every couple of months, and after you've done it for a few months, you don't even have to do it again once you know how to do this, is do a fasting insulin test. $25. Just finish your last meal at 5 in the evening. Don't eat until like 10 or 11 the next morning when you're going to go in and get a tiny bit of blood drawn, not 4 vials like they want to pull out of you. Just a little bit, that's all it takes. Send it in. A couple of days later, you get your fasting insulin number. Now, a doctor might tell you anything under 18 is good. Well, actually, the number has to be under 5. Your number has to be below 5. Even 5, I don't like it. So my fasting insulin runs average at 3.3 because I learned how to get it there. Guaranteed no insulin resistance. I was so totally insulin resistant, it was ridiculous. I was, verging on hypoglycemia, type 2 diabetes. It was insane. Now it's fixed because I measure it. And I know how to do that. So I don't have to go get measured anymore. I already know exactly how to get it to that number. Simple. Once you're there, you know that that system has no problem. If you're above 5, you got a problem. You can keep the problem if you want to. You can keep on eating food that's going to keep you above 5. You could be up at 15, 20, 25, 30 if you want. It's up to you. It's your body. Nobody's telling you what to do. But it is essential that you at least are measuring to manage. And it's essential for you how much you love yourself, how much you care about yourself. How careful are you? The more I found out that I was careful for me, the more I found out how much more I was careful for you. Not care less. People say, I could care less. Really? I used to say that before I got sick at 46. Yeah, I'd say, whatever, I don't care. I would say that a lot about stuff. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. So when I slammed into the wall at 200 miles an hour, I realized that I cared 1,000,000 times more than I thought. I didn't care less. I just realized I wasn't even close to caring enough. And then I needed to fully care about everything and take care, because my carelessness resulted in a disaster. And that's where I've had to learn over the last 22 years to find areas where I don't care enough to care more about myself and others, to really care. And if people don't care for themselves, I can express all the care I want. They can't receive that care. It's okay. There's ways we could inspire each other to care more. You can't change anybody around you, but you could inspire people where they may change themselves if they so choose. But what I found out that when I was heavy metal poisoned, when I had death fungus in my body, when I was eating any food with yeast in it, which feeds the death fungus, that my carelessness increased. And plus I had heavy metals. That was causing another mental issue, emotional issue, where for some stupid reason I didn't care. Wow. Novel idea. What an awesome idea, right? I care less. Oh, whatever, I don't care. Well, it's not whatever. It's okay, what exactly is going on? And I want to care to the maximum level possible about myself, and therefore I can then care about you. And if you care about yourself, then the care that I express to you, you can receive, and the care that you express to me, I can receive. And it's not all about me, it's all about you. So in my life, everything is all about you. It's not all about me. I'm automatically taken care of when I'm in the mode of caring for others. And I can't care for others until I care about myself. Right? Pretty simple math. So it's all mathematic. So, we want to reduce systemic inflammation. So we're looking at food quality. Of course, sleep is essential. We know that. And, everybody is worried about taking melatonin because they think, if I take too much melatonin, my body won't produce it. There's no study that says that. And there's not enough melatonin in the food we eat. It needs to be supplemented. I take like 250 milligrams a day. I don't take it for sleep. I sleep like a rock, whether I take melatonin or not. The reason I take that much melatonin is because it's anti-aging. It's giving me youth. The word anti-aging, okay, we'll use it. Not my favorite term, but it gets a point across. It's instead of aging. Anti means instead of, in place of. So instead of aging, right, is what we want. We want to get younger as we get older. We get chronologically older and biologically younger. And then there's things you can do to measure. And, there's the whole thing with the advanced glycation end products. Nobody told us about it. Duh. Too bad. I didn't know about it myself. I'd heard the term. I'm sure you probably heard the term advanced glycation end products. It's a scientific discovery that was between 1912 and 1985, where all the research was done, millions of dollars was put into the research, and it was completely concluded that the Maillard reaction when you cook food causes advanced glycation end products in the food, and therefore when you eat them, you are consuming these advanced glycation end products that glues your body to death. It turns you into a hardened mass on the inside the more you consume that in the food. And so, oh joy, if you bake food, roast food, fry food in any way at all, barbecue food, you're going to be producing the Maillard reaction, which is going to put major amounts of advanced glycation end products. And this little device that took decades to design and invent and produce goes on your body, and it measures through your tissue how much advanced glycation end products are in your system. It's a measuring device. So I got a nice little wake-up call from this. And other devices in the biofeedback world are measuring me at 25 to 35 years old, and I'm 68. And I often wondered, if that's really accurate or not. And this little device told me I was 64 when I got measured last year. Like, good wake-up call. Didn't catch that one. Missed that memo. I was 27 years old when that scientific study was done. And yet nobody published it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until the whole world heard about it over and over again, until they go, what is that? Oh, is that important? Yeah, that's like probably the biggest elephant in the room and one of the most important things you can know about when it comes to the food you're eating. So as soon as I found out how to make food that has no advanced glycation end products in it, and I've been eating food with no AGES, AGES, advanced glycation end products in them since last December. Would I like to rewind back to 27 years old and do that? Absolutely. So exactly why didn't they publish that information? I'll let you answer that. Kind of obvious, right? Kind of obvious. So again, we're going to go back to removing problems. Now, what can I do for sore joints and arthritis without drugs? That's a good one. How about we have the information on exactly how to make every joint work perfectly, remove all of the pain out of the joints, get rid of all the arthritis completely without drugs, just doing simple natural things. And you've heard of the activator. Well, that's the first place. Use the activator to open up all the pathways, just unlock and release all the crap and all the nano razor blades that are bound to joint, any joint, whether it's anything that moves, neck, traps, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, feet, ankles, knees, hips, lower back, anything that moves. You got how many joints in your body? I don't know. A lot. A lot of joints, between all the hands, you know what I mean? Like 100 and some, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Every joint that moves can get congested and calcified and filled with nano razor blades and have, uric acid buildup. So we just simply do a few simple things to get rid of all the uric acid completely. All the overload of uric acid you can get rid of in a very short period of time. And then you stimulate the body with the activator to call an action. It's a call to action for the shoulder to release everything, to repair itself. Your body just repairs itself. The activator doesn't repair anything. It just stimulates the body to repair itself. That's it. It's non-invasive. There's no medical claims around it. Don't need any. Yeah, without drugs. Drugs. Yeah, how can I heal sports injuries or overuse injuries faster and more naturally? Well, how about this? How about even better than that? How about you don't get sports injuries by prepping your body before you go do the sport? So it doesn't get injured. It doesn't wear out. That's even better. But say you didn't know that. So you went out, you got injured. You've got, pulled hamstring. You've got torn ACL, torn meniscus, or, Achilles, or, whatever, right? You can totally repair that internally with your own body healing itself. All you got to do is stimulate it. That's it. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times over the last 9 years. So we're going to do a live course shortly. We're going to sell the course on activation soon, so you can get access and invest in this for yourself, and that will support others to be able to get access to this. And that's happening live. It's going to be a live course, and you're going to be able to participate in it, give your feedback live on Zoom, and get all the questions you have about this answered, and then be able to implement it and share with your friends and your family and get everybody up to speed on that one. All right. How can I prevent or reduce migraines and tension headaches naturally? Well, most of them are based on deficiencies, and you can't have any deficiencies. People say it's hereditary or genetic or no. Mm-mm. Toxicity is primarily the cause of these things. Secondly, is deficiencies. Could be a biomechanical thing. So you just have to remove the problems. You can't let that go. Perfect health never has migraines or tension headaches. It could be hormonal. But when you deal with each system and remove systematically each problem out of each system, they all combine together and everything disappears permanently. Just goes away. No medical claims. Your body just knows what to do. Your body is extremely intelligent. and you've got all this, central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, all your main pathways for blood flow, your vagus nerve, your, transmandibular joint that affects balance and equilibrium, that can cause restrictions and adhesions. All that can be released. What natural options help fibromyalgia or widespread body pain? Well, where's that all coming from? It's coming from a massive amount of deficiencies combined with toxicities, combined with hormonal disruptions. So again, you're going back to the core root cause problems, fix the systems at the core level, make sure your depletions are repleted, and then everything joins back together again to bring you into equilibrium. And you do mechanical positioning of your body to reset it, to get your brain back to equilibrium, so it doesn't have these sensitive things that build up. Anyways, I'm not going to get into all that right now, but I'm just giving you generals tonight to give you an idea of how we approach things. All right, so I've been going for quite a while, actually over an hour, so I got to wrap it up, and I'm going to be back often doing these live streams on these platforms. So thank you very much for your attention. Please send any questions you have, DM on Instagram, Ian Clark Activated, and let me know, and I'll do my best to bring definitive answers for your questions and continuously tap into these deeper level problem resolving things so we get rid of all of our problems. So thank you. And I will be in touch soon. So all the best. Make it a great day ahead, and we'll see you soon.